Hi guys, Captain Paul, and today I just want to say happy Thanksgiving. I know it's a holiday weekend, all of you guys Black Friday shopping and all of that stuff. I just can't say thank you enough for this blessed year that I've had, and I want to do a quick recap of this year and the tragic mistakes I made over the year, because a couple of them that I can remember were huge. I want to share this clip with you because I don't understand it. I never really got to talk about it, but since it's the holidays and I've had a few minutes to reflect and I'm not on a boat for a change, let's talk about this real quick. I'm going to show you the clip first, and then I'll tell you what happened after the clip.
Spanish. The woman Australian. Oh, yes? Yes. Go more separate. Up to the left. Yeah.
So the ship coming out of the new canal right there is 1,000 feet long and 150 feet wide. And then we're going in with this ship right here, and we're going to have two sailboats, one on each side of us tied off.
Charlie, this is Echo.
There's a lot of fucking shit going on right now.
Gaby, ya estamos listos acá en su lado de babor. Si es necesario máquina, lo que sea, nos avisa.
No, eso no me sirve. Nosotros lo maniobramos.
Okay.
What's going through my mind after I watched this clip? I've watched it several times now since I've done the Panama Canal. And as you guys know, through the channel here, I feel so blessed this year to be able to do the Panama Canal and the lower Mississippi. We'll talk about the mistakes we made on that in just a minute. But the big one for me in the Panama Canal, when I got to the Panama Canal, I thought I was Billy Badass Captain. I've been through every freaking lock in the United States, in the continental United States, all around the East Coast at America's Great Loop, but I had never been through anything like the Panama Canal. So, as you saw in the clip there, the tension was unfreaking believable. And we didn't come into the lock till 4 o'clock in the afternoon. The single biggest mistake I made that day, and I didn't realize it was a choice of mine, because what I didn't know is, I did know that when I was getting ready to go into the canal, is we had a pilot. So we had to pay a pilot. Anything 65 feet and over, you have to pay a pilot. If you're under 65 feet, you can pay a consultant, basically, and they ride with you through the canal. It's a little bit different. But I was in control, and I didn't know that. The pilot comes aboard. He does not take control of the vessel. He just gives you maneuvering instructions. What happened was those two sailboats that you guys saw that tied off to each side of me was very frustrating for me, because I'm the one that got when you get the boat in the canal, you're the one in control. I'm the one that has to keep it from left to right, and there's a lot of turbulence in those locks. And what they do is they throw you a line to each corner of the boat. Well, I begged, trust me, why aren't these younger guys on these little 40-foot, 50-foot sailboats, why aren't they up here handling the lines, and why was it us handling the lines? Here we are, a bunch of old stogies, and I'm having to use the thruster and the motors to keep the boat in line. And one of the worst things you can do, especially to those Detroits, is let them sit there and idle. So letting them sit there and idle for hours and hours as we're going through the Panama Canal is not good for my engine, and I didn't like it because I was, it was frustrating for me, because trying to keep the boat in a straight line with all the turbulence and stuff going on, it was very difficult. And the line handlers were even struggling, and that's a young man's game. It's not an old man's game. So it was one of my worst, nightmarish hell that I went through this year. but we got through it. I learned from those mistakes, and the biggest lesson I learned from the Panama Canal, I will never let anybody tie off to me again like that. I will make sure that I go through as a single boat, not with boats tied off to me. That was a big mistake. But like, you know, we all live and learn. Anyway, I want to hear in the comments, what do you guys think? Could you sense that struggle as I was struggling to keep the boat? I had no idea what was going on. It was nothing like any other experience that I've ever had. The next big, huge mistake that I made on that same trip was when I got into the Pacific Ocean. There was two incidences there. One, we were coming into Cabo San Lucas. We had a hurricane on our tail, and then they shut the port down on us, and I didn't know what to do. So what ended up happening is they did give us a slip. They didn't shut the port down till after we had our boat tied off in the marina. Then they came back, shut the port down, and we were not able to roam about freely because we weren't properly checked into the community because we couldn't, because the port captain and the office was shut down. So I learned on that one as well. And the biggest thing on that is you cannot set a schedule. Weather. That's what sets your schedule. Everybody asked me. We ended up leaving Cabo early, and it was because another storm was brewing. There was two hurricanes. You rarely get these hurricanes in the Pacific, but we had two of them, one back to back, and we actually had to leave Cabo a day or two early after we got in. And that was, I didn't like it, but weather was dictating that all the way. So the biggest lesson we learned there is that you can have all the plans you want, but throw them out the window, because weather's going to tell you everything that you need to know. And when the weather's good, you need to go, especially on a trip like that. Next thing is I used a weather service. I absolutely loved it. And I highly recommend it, especially you guys going to the Bahamas, because when you're going and you're doing this offshore stuff, it's completely different from doing the onshore stuff. And what I mean by that is, like, when you go out into the Gulf Stream, that's a completely whole new world, and it's something you do not want to experience if you don't know what you're doing. Well, you can call, I don't know if any of you guys realize this, but you can call and you can get a professional weatherman to give you directions, and he will give you sea conditions. And the important part about that is, like, let's just say you're doing the 50-mile jaunt from Miami over to Bimini. You can call your weather guy. I don't even think it's that much money, $35, $45, $55. We spent about $1,000 on the Big Hatteras trip with our weatherman, paying him, because he would do our predictions and do our routes, and he would give us the go and no-go and the dates, and he was, believe it or not, pretty spot on. We didn't get caught without our pants on, but one of the big mistakes I made in the Pacific is I did not contact them. I thought I could do this one little run without them, and we got our asses handed to us to a point and to the tune of 12-foot seas and 40-knot winds, which we should have never been in. But again, you can say that all you want. Once we got around the corner, it was slick calm. So it was just maybe a 2 to 3 hour battle, but our weatherman would have never let that happen. He would have said no go. And then how long we would have had to wait. And the end of that trip was actually very, I don't want to say frustrating, but it was very weather dependent on whether we moved or we didn't move. And in those videos, especially on those final days, you see us setting a lot, and a lot of that was just waiting out weather. So it was a huge learning year. As a captain, I learned so much. I want to hear in the comments. There's a lot of feedback that I hear about the Panama trip. What do you guys think? Was that the biggest accomplishment of the year? Or I thought it was so cool to take Todd and Ann and that 400 main ship down the lower Mississippi. And I want to explain that and how that all happened. So what happened is we were in the locks. I had a boat to get onto, and I told Todd and Ann, I said, I'll stay with you as long as I can, but at this date, I have to leave. So when we got to the locks, like we're coming up to Green Turtle Bay, So we're in the Ohio, coming down the Mississippi. Oops, sorry about the bumps here. We're coming down the Mississippi, and when we got to the Mississippi, you make your your left on the Ohio port, turn on the Ohio, and you go up the Ohio and then go over to Green Turtle Bay. Well, the locks after Green Turtle Bay were shut down, and they were going to be shut down for about another week. So at Green Turtle Bay, I would have had to get off the boat and leave them. Or I said, this is an option. We can go do the lower Mississippi. For me, this is just my personal opinion, and I want to hear in the comments what you guys think on these holiday weekends. Would you enjoy doing that lower Mississippi? For me, it was just a blessing from God, because that was probably one of the most beautiful runs I've ever made in my entire life. It was not the stress of the lower Mississippi. It wasn't the tows. It wasn't the tugboats. It wasn't the work boats. It was the fuel. That's what really, really dictated and made it stressful about the trip, because we were running fast and we burned quite a bit of fuel, and it put us right on the range of that long range of running at 17 miles an hour in that main ship with fuel, because it had about a 250 mile safe run, and it was right on the edge of that fuel burn, so it made it very, very stressful. I ended up getting off about 2 days early in New Orleans, and we still had another day and a half, 2 days to get it over to Mobile Bay. But what an amazing year, what an amazing accomplishment to knock out two big things in 1 year. I can't wait to see what happens next year with Safeway, with Regel, and with you guys. I can't say thank you enough for this year. It's been an amazing, amazing year, and I'll do a complete recap for New Year's, and we'll talk about all the trips. Anyway, God bless. Remember, this is a lifestyle choice, and that's why it's No Regrets Lifestyle, because I think at the end of the day, I've heard this statement so many times over this year that it is a lifestyle. Boating's a lifestyle. RVing's a lifestyle. It's been in my blood. I've done it my whole life, and I love it. And I love being out here, and I love this little motorhome that I got. I just can't, I can't express how much I love this damn little thing, and it's been such a blessing. And and I get to do a lot of platform testing and stuff like that. If anything happens with Safeway and the Doggers Bank, the big 60-foot yacht, I can't wait to get aboard that thing and start doing the testing and solars and all that other stuff that we do throughout the year. Anyway, I appreciate it. I'm sure we're going to have just another fantastic year next year, and I welcome aboard all of you guys, the new and the old, and thank you so much for watching all the videos. The best thing you can do for the channel is watch the videos all the way through. Anyway, God bless, appreciate, and thank every single one of you. And remember, live life with no regrets. I do, and thank you.